Hi, welcome back everyone. We're here with the next company, Incoax Networks, and it will be presented by CEO Jörgen. Before leaving it over, we'll move over with high speed, investigating high speed opportunities in the market. So with that segue, feel free to start. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will give a brief introduction to Incoax Networks. We are a quite experienced team with different experiences. We are located in Gävle and in Lund in Sweden. It's myself, CEO since 1.5 years. I have background from Ericsson and Sony. It's Helge, who is head of product management and marketing and sales. He has a Nokia background. We have Thomas Svensson, who is the CTO, has a Telia background, and we have Morten Werter, who's the head of development with a solid software background from both Sony and Volvo. The company itself is 10 years experience of fiber access extension solutions. As I said, we have 2 sites in Sweden, Lund and Gävle. We are around 25 employees. It's a combination of employees and consultants. We also formed during the recent 1.5-2 years alliances with external partners, both in back-end and front-end. So it's for development, manufacturing, logistics, and also for sales. We have a strategic software focus where we're aiming for operator interoperability. And that's really important. In order to be relevant for an operator, they must be able to easily integrate our system into their network. We have a long experience of working on the Mokka platform. We claim we have an industry leadership on that technology. Since 2019, we are listed on First North. We work, as I mentioned, to promote and to understand the standardization that is going on in the industry and among the operators in the world. So we are active in the Mokka Alliance, Broadband Forum, ETSI, and a couple of more forums. So as we have coax in our name, I would like to explain a little bit about coax. This is as you know, as a TV cable normally, but it's also very suitable to transmit data for other services. And currently, on the current platform, we have a 2.5 gigabit per second capability in our system. We have a roadmap that goes hand in hand with the standardization and also what the chipset industry plan to develop. So the capability of the cable itself is based on our judgment and our cooperation partners that we can run 25 gigabit per second over the coax cable, which is of course a big advantage because this is normally existing networks in the buildings. So what do we solve? We enable cost-efficient multi-gigabit sustainable fiber extensions. And then what is fiber extension, you could ask. That's really how to reach out to the end consumer in a good and efficient way. Today there's a problem, especially for so-called MDUs, multi-dwelling units, to really do that. Because there are different problems to solve when it comes to both legal aspects. It's also costly because you need to pull new cables in the building, and sometimes you need to drill holes, and not all people want to have their buildings destroyed. So the idea is, of course, then to hook on the fiber. The fiber goes to the building or a certain point, and then you can hook on our system and then extend the fiber experience all the way to the end consumer by reusing the existing network. And the challenge, of course, then for the operator is how to get the fiber all the way to each apartment. For private homes, this is less of a problem, and this is also where operators tend to be very busy now. More tricky objects are sometimes left behind, which is a pity because then no broadband. Here we have a
Installing fiber to every MD living unit is expensive in terms of labor costs, disruptive to customers, and often delayed due to slow process of getting permissions from building and living unit owners and local authorities. Fiber extensions using MoCA access-based InCoax technology reduce the cost and complexities when deploying FTTH networks. MoCA can leverage existing coaxial cable infrastructure and reuse existing network operators' assets, while still providing FTTH-like broadband connectivity. Simply extend the street fiber to the fiber extension point where you install the InCoax MoCA access DPU and connect it to the existing coaxial network. It works both with point-to-point and point-to-multipoint coaxial networks. Depending on the coaxial network structure, the fiber extension point can be in a street duct, in an outdoor wall cabinet, in the basement, on each floor, or in the attic. It works just as smoothly with a satellite coaxial network combined with street fiber as combined with a fixed wireless access extension. Connect the InCoax MoCA access modem in the apartments. Configure the services with the remote management system. That's all. It's that easy to ensure a cost-effective and stable broadband connectivity to all your subscribers.
Then a little bit about the market potential. I would say it's a huge market out there for us. And as you can see on these bars, this indicates the penetration rate in different markets and how it developed from 2013 to 2019. What we see here is that some developed countries still have a very low penetration. And that is, for instance, Germany, we have the United States, we have several markets, UK, where we have a great potential for this solution. And that's really where we focus. So we go for our primary markets is where these countries where you have really high investments in infrastructures. And you saw, for instance, the latest package in the US, for instance. I think out of $1,000 billion, $65 billion was for broadband investments. And also we go for markets where labor cost is quite high, so it's a business case really to reuse rather than pull new cables or fibers. So that leads us to North America and Western Europe, and that's really where we have identified some of the main target customers. And that is telecom operators, it's fiber operators, it's challengers, ISPs. Also, cable operator has the potential, but they are still very much busy in the DOCSIS technology. But we see some tendencies that also that market could be open for our technology, actually, because DOCSIS is very investment heavy. And also traditional cable TV, linear TV is actually on its way out in general. So consumers tend to go for streaming. Then also we work with some selected resellers, even though we are currently in a stage where we have more, say, direct contact with some operators in order to create more reference objects. As we said before, we address resell MDUs and thus multi-dwelling units and also hospitality industry like hotels and service homes. The dots here on the map that shows where we have deployments of our system in the US. A little bit about the products. We have in our current portfolio 2 link controllers, C254, C251. It's a 1-port and a 4-port solution. You can hook on 31 subscribers on each coax port. We have recently launched DPU, Distribution Point Unit, D2501, that also broadens up the use cases because it's also capable for interfacing passive optical networks, which is the predominant standard among fiber operators today in the world. So it will really open up for more use cases and a much bigger market. And then in the other end, in the apartment, we have modems then that fits to these controllers, the DPUs. And we have a management system. Management is really important for the integration. And we have our own, but we also have system solutions where we can act as a proxy into operators' management, existing management system. What has happened recently? Yes, we have launched the D2501, as I said, during this fall. We have an ongoing business with a US fiber LAN operator that's ramping up. They also now started to test our new product. And we have also ongoing field test with a really big American so-called Tier 1 operator. So a lot of exciting things going on here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm trying to find some interesting, additional interesting questions, but we have questions in the chat. We have received questions before. So thank you very much, and we'll start with the Q&A. Couple of things that keep coming back. I see US fiber LAN operator. I see in my notes here US, and I see in the email US. So understanding you might not be able to say who it is or as such, but the announcement of that Commence Lab test in the US, would it be able to elaborate a little bit more on what that is and what does it mean? What does the process look like getting a foothold in the US, and where would this tick in the box along the way?
I think number one, we have an ongoing business. I would say we started to be an established partner to this operator, which is very nice, of course. And they are also present in most of the big suburban areas in the US. So they have good potential for us. Then, of course, we have been limited to our current portfolio. So that's also really interesting that they are interested in testing our new product, D2501, because then they can address use cases that they couldn't do. Well, they couldn't do, but they couldn't do with such good business case, basically, with the other portfolio products. So this opens up, and I think it's really promising, actually, for our future business to work with them.
All right. It seems significant. It seems important for the company roadmap, and it seems that despite limited portfolio, they were looking for a niche product that could help them to solve a special problem, which you...
Yeah, I would say that's the case.
All right. Perfect. Something is sticking after these 15 minutes, I guess, here, at least from my side. But we have more interesting questions. And one, of course, involves everyone is shooting satellites up in the sky. So 5G, where are we at that? Wouldn't that be able to fix and solve everything all around, or?
The problem, number one, of course, in order to have 5G network, you need a really strong fixed network in the backhaul. That's number one. Number two, I would say, is for bigger cities, more condensed areas. We have a lot of buildings. It would require a very high density of 5G base stations in order to get coverage everywhere. So here, I think we can really complement the 5G network in a good way, because basically you can bring in the 5G signal in a building, and you can use the in-building network, and then of course with some further developments also our system or system similar to ours in order to basically get your own 5G base station in each apartment.
All right. So basically, no fiber, no 5G party.
I would say so.
Perfect. That's a good line. All right, but also looking at the InCoax technology solution, is that competing or is it complementing other fiber solutions?
It's really complementing. And of course, the first choice when it's possible for an operator is to pull fiber all the way. So we realize, of course, that's the case. And this is a complement in these, say, more tricky situation or use cases where they can't do that easily, practically, or economically. So that's where we come into the picture.
So, and that leads into the next question regarding using a coax cable network for broadband services. I mean, not asking if you should use one or the other, but why would you use this and why not use anything else?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I think it very much depends on the use cases. I'm not saying that we are more competitive everywhere. I mean, that very much depends on the use case, and you need to define the use case, of course. But when we do that in many cases, we can see that our solution is very much cost competitive and also is very fast. So it brings for an operator a very quick time to cash, actually, when they hook on a new subscriber, because waiting time is quite short, actually, until they can get revenues.
All right. So rather than being a matter of what cable to use, it's a matter of how quick they could generate cash.
Yeah, that's one aspect, of course.
Yeah. All right. And talking about internet providers, we have covered this US operator. Depending on what can be mentioned and not, but I mean, who are you in discussions with just to get an understanding for the customer feel? Are they big? Are they small? Is it 100 users? Is it larger? I mean,
we're talking about millions of subscribers, and we're trying now to go after these selectively, of course, but operators where we have clearly identified a need, we have also the ability to say, show our competitiveness in a very obvious way. So I mean, we are selective. Of course, someone could say this kind of a challenge for a small company like us to become a supplier to a big operator in the US or anywhere else. And would they, at the end of the day, buy from you? My answer to that is that there are many solutions on that, of course, and we are open to different types of business models, and we can do licensing, and we can bring in more partners and so on. So we're quite pragmatic on this because we really want to see deployments of these developments that we have done, because we think it's really good.
All right, business-minded is what we're hearing. Niche product enabling a quick cash for the internet providers, and you're not talking to the small players. This is what we could summarize then.
Well, as I said, we want to have a a business that also can scale.
Yep.
And if we go after too many small operators, of course, that will consume a lot of resources, and it's not really scaling either. So,
Excellent.
but of course, if someone places an order with us,
I hear what you're saying. I can still order for my colleague's apartment here who has lousy internet. However,
we can arrange that.
Perfect. However, the tier 1 will always be of preference. So thank you very much for the presentation, the Q&A. It's been great having you here.